Good evening, everyone. First item on the agenda is relative to approval of the minutes of the meeting conducted on September the 28th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have one question.
Yes, Ann?
Did he say he bought that land, or did he have an option on it?
On which one?
The one there on
Harrington Homes,
Harrington.
he said he bought
He
it.
bought it?
That's what he said. That's my recollection
Oh,
of what he said.
I'll second that. That's the only thing I wondered about.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have to abstain, so.
Yes, Mike. Motion carries. First item on the agenda is the application by John and Joanne Verone. This is relative to the use of their property at 7376 Kirkville Road. It is scheduled this evening for a public hearing concerning an accessory use permit and site plan for a massage therapy. This is particularly tax map number 055-01-07 and tax map number 055-01-8. Good evening. We are here this evening for a public hearing. One of you may want to just be seated for the moment because we're going to hold up for a second, do some clerical work on this.
Okay.
You want another chair?
Prior to proceeding with the opening of the public hearing, we need to go through seeker and make a seeker determination. So I would ask our counsel to lead us through.
So we are lead agency on this matter, and we're going to go through the questions on the part to seeker. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation?
No.
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
Slight.
No, or small impact?
Yep.
Okay. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment facilities?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to the natural resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
So we have heard that small or no impact on all of the questions. So, Chair.
That being the case, I would entertain a motion relative to negative declaration for seeker. So moved by Fred,
Second.
second by Michael Roy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Negative declaration relative to seeker. Madam Secretary, have we done proper publication of the notice?
Yes, sir.
Do you folks want to hear the publication?
I move that we second the reading.
Second.
Motion made and second. Motion made by Fred and second by Michael Roy. All in favor of the waiver of the reading?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are waiving the reading of the notice of publication. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
I think Ann's hand went up before your verbs came out. Motion made by Ann, second by Mike Leroy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are hereby opening the public hearing relative to this application for any comments from the public.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Richard Rossetti to close the public hearing and second by Fred. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I guess the public didn't feel a need to talk about this. Therefore, we've resolved the public hearing issue. Did any of our members have any additional questions above and beyond what we asked these folks last time? Then I would entertain a motion relative to the accessory use permit and site plan approval.
I would move that we approve an accessory use permit for 7 years. Second.
It's seconded by Arnie. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Sir, you are being approved for an accessory use permit for your property, so you may maintain this massage therapy for 7 years. I would start a new application. If you're going to continue the business beyond that point, about 6.5 years from now, you might want to consider refiling for a renewal.
Or retired.
Well, I didn't want to suggest that. You folks still both look very young.
How long is this good for?
7 years.
7 years, sir.
In 7 years, I don't know where I'll be. I'm gonna be 80 next week.
We need to approve a site.
Maybe 180?
80 next Tuesday.
I thought we just
I think
approved
we're
both.
good.
With
That was on one motion?
He did it both in one motion. Fred, did
Okay, okay.
that was my understanding.
I did not hear that. Okay, that's fine.
I'm going along with that.
Very good.
Okay, folks, you're all set.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Do we need any paperwork to post at the office or anything?
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in this evening.
Sure.
The next item on the agenda is the application by Rolex Properties.
Yep.
This is an application relative to a 6-lot subdivision and site plan known as Freeman Estates. This is location 7430 High Bridge Road in Fayetteville, New York. This is all on one tax map number, which is 101-02-02.1. On behalf of the application, we have Thomas present. Now, Tom, we were here about a month or so ago. And we have a significant, well, actually not a significant change, but we have a
Well, we
change.
were here last time with plans showing a private road, which obviously presents problems of its own. With the total, how many lots we have? We had 8 lots, some of them non-conforming. The new plan, I think, meets all the requirements. It's basically a proposed town road, not necessarily what we're going to build. This, again, is a density plan. We still want 278 consideration. This site is optimally, it's a perfect site for clustering. Not that we're going to do necessarily attached, but we have a lot of acreage. We have 17 acres in the back that we want to protect and preserve in perpetuity. This is a floodplain area, so that will be, we can covenant that, so I'm not worried about that. The only thing it would ever be used for is some limited stormwater management, possibly. However, the upper part of the property, where the 6 lots are shown, these are duplex-sized lots. They are 100 by 200. They meet the R3 zoning requirement for a two-family home. And this layout shows total conformity with the R3 zoning, 100-foot by 200-foot lots. Again, we have unlimited land in the back, but what you see here, we've also designated the 25-foot buffer from the floodplain and the 25-foot buffer from the steep slopes as required by the town zoning as well as the town code. So basically, we have to work within the red line area, so to speak, to create our 12 homes, our 12 townhouses, if that's what the board determines our density to be. And again, once we have that determination, we will come back with a more detailed plan showing proposed homes on the property. And again, if we can do it, it would be 12 detached homes. Again, we have concerns. We want separation between the houses. We don't want them 10 feet apart. We want to keep them some separation between them. It would be all, it would be a homeowners association. So the stormwater management would be handled by the homeowners association. All of the landscaping, snow removal will be handled by the homeowners association. And we're going to try to keep our amount of town road very minimal. So we'd like to, so we don't have all that blacktop. We'd rather see private driveways and smaller driveways in a lot of town roads. So if we get 278 consideration, and we have a density determination, we will come back with the most attractive plan that we can create for a senior community, which is what we're targeting.
So Tom, this is a draft of a conventional plan,
Correct.
and this is not the draft of what you're intending to actually
Correct.
put up there.
This is a density plan, it's solely a density plan. And
Okay,
again, until that's determined, I didn't know where to start, because chicken and the egg, you know, I mean, how many units do we have to work with? Again, we have a lot of acreage, we don't want to use the portion of it, so we have to work within the red dotted line, so to speak, and design you a nice plan.
Tom, you had mentioned, I just want to get a clarification. You said 12 detached homes.
Yeah, 12 senior, you know, town, what do you call them? Patio homes, I guess we call them.
But I guess in this zoning, the way it's working, they are duplexes.
Well, we used this a couple of times. We've done Austin Meadows, Brennan Fields. It's the way that we've determined density in the past based on the R3 zoning. So again, I mean, we may do them attached. I mean, if the town, if you guys prefer them attached homes, we'll do 6 attached homes. It doesn't matter to us. It's nice to have the flexibility. Well, to give you an example, I think, well, Brennan's a good example, which was a total of 40 attached homes. And then the board, we came back and we went to detached homes because people didn't want to be attached. So there was no real distinction between one or the other. Again, keeping separation, I think, is important. There was a time when we couldn't sell attached homes, like in 2008, whatever. I think the market shifted a little bit, so neither here nor there. But that's impressive.
I'm trying to get a clarification,
Yeah.
because
Basically,
R3 is attached homes. I mean,
No,
duplexes.
It's either or.
Either or.
They are either or.
Either or. Now, if they're duplexes, they have to have more square footage. If you read the R3 zoning, you'll find they all have to have 100 foot of frontage, but a single-family home has to have 16,000 square feet, Jamie? And the duplex has to have 20,000.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. That's been.
but my understanding of a duplex is it's attached.
Well, yeah, it is attached, but then again, 278, what does that say? It says that we can deviate sideline setbacks and all that can be set aside to create a more environmentally friendly plan.
Which we're normally always in favor of, yes.
Correct. In fact, Artery Village, those are 3, 4s, 5s, whatever, that's all R3. That's all the same stuff. Now, I don't want to build 3s and 5 units, but the hard inside ones are harder to sell.
Excuse me, so you're showing on your traditional plan 16,000 square feet?
A single family, is it 16? Yeah.
Okay.
100 feet of frontage, 16,000 square feet. These are 20,000 square feet with 100 feet of frontage, which is your duplex zone. You'll see that as well.
On the conventional,
Yeah, conventional R3, correct.
your conventional R3 is showing duplexes?
Yes, correct,
Okay.
correct.
And
Again,
how many total duplexes?
well, we have six conforming lots, 12 units, yes. Again, just for density purposes. It's a little confusing. You guys don't have a PUD here, which, you know, is that wrong? I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of planned unit development zoning. Most towns have them these days. Something we should probably look at some point, but.
Okay, I'm
So-
opening this up to questions for everybody.
And just to clarify, so this traditional plan, you're saying, I can do 12 attached units, that's what I've got as far as square footage. And then on your cluster, it would be how many?
Well, these would be 6, well, if we go with the open, basically we did, as we did in Brandon and we did in Austin, we basically took the duplex rule and we said that we have a maximum based on the size of these lots, we can build 6 duplexes, okay? And those interpret both those projects that we could build 12 detached.
And when you're doing that density calculation, you're using all of the property?
All of the property.
100%.
Well, no, we're just using this area that's shown here on the map. Again, that floodplain and stuff is all, no, we're not using any of that for our density.
You have
Because
6
you're taking-
buildable lots.
Pardon me?
You have 6 buildable lots.
6 buildable duplex lots. Yeah, so each one can have a duplex
Because
lot.
if you scooch over here very far, you're getting too steep a
Correct, and that's what that red line shows us, that 25-foot buffer setback. So again, I mean, before I come back to you with a plan, I need to know what I can put on it. Makes sense?
And I guess maybe I was not as clear, but it's a whole project, and because that property is in the floodplain, this extra property, you're taking the position it's not buildable and you're not using it for your density for the cluster.
We don't need to use it, let's put it that way. Right,
Do you have plans in the future to?
No, and we'll covenant to that effect, but we'll put a restrictive covenant. It'll be owned by the HOA, it'll never be developed.
And there'll be, I'm assuming, your final plan will have some type of easement from somewhere. to get
For
back
access,
to the-
oh yeah, walking easements, whatever. Actually, this one, I envision that we'll probably go with a 0 lot line footprint, like we did the Village and the other one. So basically, everything that isn't underneath the house itself will be owned by the HOA green space. So basically what we do is actually build the structure based on a conceptual plan. Once the foundation is actually built, the surveyor goes out and surveys the as-built, and we do a quick claim deed from the homeowners association to the fee owner, purifying the title to it. So they own everything that's underneath their home, which is fee simple ownership, which is what you want. It's not condominium fee ownership. So same as Austin Meadows, same as Erie Village, we have them all over the state.
And this will no longer be a private road, or be a public road?
Well, there'll be a
Will that
small
gate?
section of public road, but it won't be as big as this. I envision it probably to be 300 feet long with the cul-de-sac. And if we don't do the 0 lot lines, we'll do like flag lots off the cul-de-sac, so that they may all have some frontage on the town road. There's lots of different ways we can do it. We can either create building envelopes or building footprints. I prefer the 0 lot line footprint because it gives the developer, we don't have to worry about being 2 inches over the line and then fixing it. If you can imagine that in the construction book.
Tom, last time you were here, you were talking in terms of a gated community. Wouldn't this, now that it's going to be a public road, alleviate?
Yeah, that's the problem. We can't do a gated community with a public road. If you got, I mean, I'm trying to think of why we couldn't do the whole thing private. I guess there's no reason we can't. I mean, in other words, to get my density, I had to show you lots on a town roadway that meet the code requirements, that utilize 278. Now that hurdle's crossed, I suppose we could go back to a totally private community. I'm not opposed to that. If you think we can make
Wouldn't it be an aggravation to pull in there and for a gate to be involved in that shorter road, getting off the highway?
The gate would be set back probably further. If you notice, the Freeman driveway is pretty long. The lamp posts for driveway, I don't know how far those, you see those lamp posts on the plan? How far off the pavement are those? I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. There's 2 of them there. Our road's a little bit to the east of that. But I think we would want to go in between the 2 light posts that she has. She has a good driveway access now right across from her bridge.
The lamp posts are to the
And
west of where the road is applied.
And Fred, too, I think that these gates these days, basically the gate senses the car, you have a little device in your car. So it doesn't even mean using a car gate.
I guess I was thinking about a gate up closer to the highway, that could be a dangerous thing if you had a paper to open up.
Well, I guess I kind of gave up the gated community after I just said, well, gee, we have to conform, so we have to have road frontage, and then but now, once we get that determination, I'm open to that.
You're still gonna have to build the road to town standards.
I think the state's gonna have something to say about whether or not they want a gate and where it's going to be
they
placed.
could be too.
That'll last about a few months, the gate.
So I envision just a short cul-de-sac in this area here with private driveways off of that. So maybe just a turn, a circle, not a lot of town liability.
If this were not clustered, because it's not a whole lot different if it's clustered or not clustered, would there be the ability, however remote, to develop the other property?
In the back?
Yeah.
Well, we've stipulated that it never would be.
I understand, but I'm saying if the cluster were not given and you just were like,
Oh, yeah, we do get a floodplain development permit and play by those rules.
how onerous is that?
Well, it's bringing in fill. Usually, what we did in Erie Village, we got a big lake. And we had beautiful gravel, and so that worked out real nice. And so we basically raised our elevation, did our compaction, 95% compaction, 2 feet above 100-year flood. You can get a loan out of the federal government. That amendment which removes it from the floodplain, so no longer has flood insurance. So, yeah, that could be done. It's a long process. We get a lot more homes, especially with the R3 density.
But you're willing to give that up for
We're willing to
permanent
give that
covenant
up,
and
yeah.
all of that to get a cluster here?
If we think, realistically, I mean, would you do another Erie Village? I don't know. I mean, that was my father, and, that's high density. I think we're looking for a different caliber project. It's an upscale project. Again, we've made some huge sacrifices on our density already. We think it'll work very nicely with 12 units. We think it'll be a quality project, and we don't have to deal with the floodplain, whatever.
So I understand. Once you cluster this, if that's where we go with this back portion will be what I'll call a separate lot.
It'll have a tax, it'll have a number.
Own tax on it.
Yeah.
Is there something that stops the HOA from selling that for somebody else to develop? Or would you be willing to put a deed restriction?
We'll put a deed restriction, that's what we did. We'll put a deed restriction, it'll never be developed, and we have no problem, we've talked that over. We may have a little bit of storm management in that area, just maybe a detention pond right over the edge of the bank. I gotta see how the layout works.
And I mean, it'd be a nice place to build some trails and other.
Oh, yeah, I heard there's some real wet areas down there, but, in the long run, they have some walking trails and along the creek and fishing spots and whatever. And it preserves a good chunk of land forever, which is what we kind of need to do.
What's the remaining acreage?
About 17 in the back, maybe.
Well, if they cluster this, it might be 20 acres, right?
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
In a nutshell, what is it exactly you're asking of the planning board?
Well, tonight I really wanted a density determination and your support for 278 consideration. 278 basically is to preserve green space, open areas, what have you. And it says that at the board's discretion, we can exceed our density that would be under a conventional plan. However, if 278 is afforded, we can deviate our sidelines, our setbacks, all that stuff that really sets the cookie cutter.
You're not going to wind up with 6 buildings. I mean,
six buildings, or we could have, and we could have no more than 12 total homes on the property. It could be.
You have 12 in the conventional.
Correct. Yeah, that's the whole point.
So I don't guess I see the. I don't understand the cluster. What clustering will buy you?
I think it's going to get you a much more attractive plan. I think, because what you're dealing with grades, you're dealing with a floodplain, you're dealing with some steep, you have trees that are growing on the banks as well. Preserving that stuff is important, and it allows us more flexibility in placing the homes so that we can, instead of doing the conventional, if you do a conventional R3 lot, you have to have 100-foot of road frontage. You have to have so many feet on each side. You have to have so many feet back off the road, so many feet for the rear yard. You putting all those parameters in, you're basically putting them all in a little box, and they're all the same. Boom, boom, boom. It doesn't give you any flexibility at all.
Tom, typically, I think we have an R1 subdivision that then we cluster into something that is basically the R3 standards. Would it be, and I'm just thinking out loud right now, but would it be a wiser thing to do to take this standard subdivision and get some variances for setbacks and, whether it's side yard, rear yard, whatever, to give you the plan that you have, the number of units that you want, but not, and I don't know, I'm not the developer, you're the developer, I'm just kind of thinking out loud.
That would be an abuse of the zoning board of appeals. Basically, variants are a remedy, and number one, they're not supposed to be self-created. So every one of these would be self-created hardships. And number two, to grant variances in bulk is the function of a planning board, not a zoning board.
So the question is, for this board, as you're thinking about this, and why I asked about that back parcel. If Tom and his group decided to go in and do this traditional plan, if the engineering was met and so forth, there would be a lot, a big lot, 17 acres I'm told, that would be left that could be sold, that someone could get a loan permit in the future. Or there may be development that would not be.
Tom has agreed with the deed
No,
restriction.
that's only if we do cluster.
Oh,
Well, we're supposed to.
Well, of course.
You know, I mean, I have to look
Because
at.
otherwise, he can just come in with a subdivision plan.
We're paying top dollar. I mean, the Freemans have been there for a long time. And they're, you know, getting on in years, and they have a number, and I'm trying to make that number work. And so, you know, it's dollars and cents. You know, we've already come down from, how many did we start with, guys? You know, 23 or whatever. So we're down to 12. And I think what we're doing is right. I think it's appropriate, it's consistent with what we've done in the town before, so we're not doing anything different. But again, that affords us the ability to give up that acreage in the past. Like Jamie
Otherwise,
said.
they don't have to do it, and the subdivision
Do you
plan.
have an option
with
on it?
engineering
Have you
wants
bought
to have very little help.
Pardon me?
Did you buy it?
We haven't closed on it yet, but
You haven't
yeah, it's contingent on getting the approval, but I don't know what else she's gonna do with it. You know, it's, the structure there is, you know, it's on slab on grade, it's old, it's got add-on, and add-on, and add-on, and it's full of stuff. I don't know what she's gonna do with all the stuff in there, but, you know, it's not a typical house, and I don't know, I think it's a good use of the property. I think we have a need for our seniors to, I mean, again, not everyone can afford $6,000 a month on the cruise ship over here, and it just provides an alternative. Okay, Ellie will probably end up in one of the houses. So.
Tom, I like what I see, and I like what I hear, and I truly want to tell you, I appreciate your willingness to put in a deed restriction relative to future use of the larger parcel. And in the language you use this evening relative to the abuse of the zoning board, I really appreciate what you're saying. But I don't think we're in a position where we can tell you what you want to hear, which is the density determination. Doug, am I out of line in saying that?
No, that's fine.
But if you're looking for a consensus from us, we can hold a vote relative to a consensus among us as to whether we're generally in line with what you're trying to do, subject to the ultimate engineering determination that the density is appropriate.
You guys should know how many to put on here.
If that's okay with you, we can
I would go along with that, yes.
So, do we have a consensus as to whether we're in line with what Tom has proposed here? 6-lot subdivision, so it's, well, it would actually be 7-lot, the larger parcel. And the units that he's intending to put in, do we have a consensus that everybody is pretty much okay with that? That we believe it's the right density, but not confirming it?
6 duplexes, or no more than 12,
No, I mean,
12
the size of
Pardon
the
me?
square feet.
How many square feet? Oh, they're gonna vary. I think they're gonna have some as small as 16, 17, 1,800. You may have some as much as 22, 24.
Could be that small, but
Yeah. Well, it's hard to say.
I mean,
You know,
the nice part is you have all with the cluster, you can have different types of lot. I mean, that's not a cookie cutter piece. It's a very unique piece of property, so you can really form them. So each property is unique in its own right. Somebody might want a 1,900 square foot ranch. Somebody might want a 3,600 square foot ranch, but it gives them the ability to do so.
To answer your question as far as I'm concerned, when it first came in front of us, it was 25 units, I thought that was way too much. I had kind of set my mind that it was probably 10 or 12 units that would eventually make sense. This is 12 units, I think that makes sense. How it's finalized and how it's shaped, I don't know. I guess we'll have to look at it, but as far as the number of units, I'm much more comfortable with 12 than 25.
Well, that's the threshold question, similar to Doug, right?
Right, can I ask you, Ann, how you feel
Oh, I
about it?
feel the same.
Right?
I like it a lot. I live close by, and I'm very familiar with the property. And in this neighborhood, there's very nice multiple family dwellings across the road and right next door. You know, it's just fits. It's a good fit.
Arnie?
I'm all for it.
Mike?
I'm in agreement.
Tom, you have a consensus
I got it.
for what it's worth,
All right.
but we're gonna need,
I have some sketches on my desk that I've been playing around with it, you know, trying to keep my utilities in line and do layouts in line and keep the separation, and so we got a bunch of different ideas, and we'll bring them back, and we'll go from there.
Hey, Tom.
Well, I think it's more an issue of getting enough information about the utilities, about the drainage, that Doug can approve and say, and come back to this board with this recommendation, like, yes, this is the appropriate number of lots, this could be done as a traditional plan, threshold question. Then we make that determination. Then you can start playing, because then we can talk about treating it as a cluster.
Okay, no problem. I picked,
I
it's
just
pretty
wanted to
simple
get
in
the
that
chicken in
regard.
it,
I mean,
yeah.
the public water's not an issue, we have our sewer trunk.
And that's all for Doug to bring back the recommendation to this board.
How far off the road will you be?
Our minimum, way off the blacktop,
Off the road, not from the center of the road, but.
Up to 92.
Yeah, 92.
off of 92, well, 92 is how wide is 92? Highway boundary, it's wide. I'm looking at some map here. For based on the blacktop, it looks to be like, you know, Doug, offhand, 100 and,
I don't, the state route though.
it looks to me like
So
the
it's
state owns about 50 feet on the side of the blacktop on both sides.
Just
So-
50 feet off of the road?
No, we'd be more than that, so we'd probably be, I'm gonna say, 100 feet. Would be the
50 would be
closest.
too close.
Again, nobody wants to be too close, again. We gotta sell these too.
Well, there's a house up the road that's too close to the road.
Mm.
You've got the fence up and the stuff, but yeah, the house has always bothered me. We didn't approve it, but
Yeah,
Somebody-
probably. And,
Well,
I
that's
think,
somebody else.
I think 92 has gotten wider over the years. They've done condemnations, and the state has taken some more. So we got to live with that. But no, we don't want them too close to the road because the road noise and whatever. People aren't going to want that.
Hey, Tom, didn't we talk about doing no matter what, if the road's private or public, either way, they were gonna make it to town specs? Because remember we talked about if it was a private road originally,
Right.
that usually they don't ever last, so we just gotta make sure it's to town specs regardless of what our, plans are for it. I think we'll make sure of that when we do it.
we would insist on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, it's not going to be very long. Again, I guess I'm thinking flag lots or private driveways off of the town road that the HOA would maintain. We'll keep that minimal.
Couple
We'll get
things.
some ideas together, and I'll bring them to Doug first and get his blessing before we bother you guys.
That sounds good, and we're gonna just leave this in abeyance for the time being without calendaring it until we see new sketches and drawings and enough information relative to elevations, and so we can figure out setbacks, and Doug will have enough to make a determination on density to finalize.
I'll just say a couple things that are important to me. I know that the detention basin or whatever it's going to be will be in the wetlands or off this part of the property. There needs to be an easement granted to the HOA and to the town to get to it with proper ability to maintain it, whatever that might be, and it's Doug Bailey, that's.
We know that drill well enough.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So no, we'll make sure of that, and again, the primary responsibility would be HOA.
Right.
But town needs access for whatever. Okay.
Is everyone else okay?
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming in, gentlemen. Folks, we did have another matter that was on a tentative agenda, but we have removed it temporarily, but just so you know, it will be coming in, and that is a solar panel coming in on Kirkville Road. That application will be coming in. We did not feel it was complete enough to be presented to us. We want to have more information presented. Partial plan doesn't help us too much, but that will be coming in. The next item that is on our agenda is a special permit renewal. This is for Crown Castle, and this is property located at 6430 Hogue Road. This is a cell tower on tax map number 60-2-2.1. We're going to treat that separately than the other one. We had previously gone through all the required agenda for special permits, and it's my belief and understanding, especially after speaking to council, that haven't gone through it once, we do not have to continue to do it on a renewal, that we can hear the renewal application based upon the information presented. We have heard from our town code officer that there have been no problems reported relative to this. Do we have an applicant?
We do not.
We do not have an applicant. And we, depending on what the board feels, we don't need to have an applicant.
As much poking around as we've done on the whole lane lately, I can't visualize the tower.
Oh, it's Hogue Road.
Pardon?
It's Hogue Road,
Oh, Whole Road.
yes.
I don't know where that is.
It's in the north end of town,
Yeah.
Poolsbrook area? Poolsbrook area.
Oh, okay.
Is this the one that goes down the street to Manlius Village? East side, or is that the one on the hill?
I call that Kirkville.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we haven't, there's been no concerns expressed about this place.
That's a very rural area. That's highly rural, Hogue Road. So,
I would move that we do the special use application.
I do have one question, and that is relative to the renewal period.
This one's 7 years.
This one is 7 years.
This one's 20 years.
Yeah, the other one is, they're recommending 20 years. I would entertain a motion, if anyone.
I think Fred made it.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
For how many years?
Is this the one they're asking for 20 years?
Seven on this.
Okay, for 7 years.
Motion made by Fred,
Second.
second by Richard Rosé. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Special permit renewal is approved. The next item on the agenda is also an application by Crown Castle. This is for property located at 8201 East Seneca Turnpike. This is also a cell tower renewal application, tax map number 099-01-3.0/1.
Why is this from 20 years?
That's a very good question,
It is.
and it's a concern of mine, but
The reason it's 20 years is because the initial one was 20 years, and we had some discussion on that. And I've given some thought to this after we talked last week. And even though the initial one was 20 years, there were probably reasons for it. I would be more than comfortable with a 7-year renewal,
Yeah.
similar to what we're doing, no matter what the initial one was. And that gives us a little bit more control and
20 years is a long time.
All it does, is if there's a violation of the special use permit at any time, if it happens tomorrow, then it has to be enforced by our codes officer. At least on a 7-year or even 10 or something, it gives the opportunity, as you can see, it's very simple. There's no public hearing, you just come in, it gives a chance for this board to say, it's fine. So that's,
Do we have a standard number of years?
we have routinely
Seven
given 7
years.
7 years. yeah.
I'd give him
So
7.
I would, I think I'd be in favor of bringing that
This is
in line.
the first time around with special use permits. So
we have not.
no, the town board has given 7 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I see a predicament. We've got 2 applications, both asking for a renewal of permits. We're giving one for 7 years, and then the real question would be, why in our right lane would we give another one for a 20-year period? It would seem like there's some type of a discriminatory resolution. Our standard had been 7 years.
I believe it's 7.
I move we renew it for 7 years.
I'll second that.
Yep, I agree.
Arnie made a motion, second by Richard, for granting of a 7-year renewal. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, excuse me. Motion is approved. Motion is approved.
Right. I'll make the motion, unless Fred's going to make it.
I'm looking for it. I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion by Fred, second by Richard to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned. And this, of course, Fred, I understand this is your last meeting this year.
This year.
Myself,
So we hope you have an enjoyable winter.
you would leave us? west to go south?
No, I'm not going south, I'm going to just as cold a place as this is, but that's where my family is.
Where you have to?
I'm going to